From Brianna being publicly violated to Jamie's traumatizing assault scene in the dungeons, these are some Outlander scenes that frustrated fans. Brianna being violated publicly really drove fans wild, and I don't mean in a good way. Let me take you back to Season 4, Episode 8 of the show, when the series made the controversial decision to show the character's assault on screen. The scene shows her negotiating with Stephen Bonnet to buy back her mother's stolen wedding ring. He is happy to return it, but for a price. When Brianna explains that he's mistaken as to what she is offering as payment, a brutal assault takes place as he forces himself on her. What's most shocking is that while it's happening, not a single person tries to help her. The other men and even women in the pub can be seen laughing and drinking while Brianna's screams echo in the background. In one of the show's eeriest scenes, someone picks up Brianna's boots that had been ripped from her feet and sits them neatly against the door, ready for her when the assault is over. Honestly, there was no need to make this scene as graphic as it was. They could have easily done the whole thing a little more tastefully, not traumatizing anyone who watched it. But then again, to play devil's advocate, if you want to tackle a problem that's still prevalent in society, then maybe it's important to show all the horrifying details, to really portray how evil the actions are. Even the actress Sophie Skelton thinks that they needed to tackle this head-on, to show fans the seriousness of the issue, and truly understand everything her character has been through. In fact, the actress did multiple takes of the scene just to get it right for that very reason. She said that if she didn't, it wouldn't only have been an injustice to the character, but to everyone who's been through something similar in their actual lives. While some parts of the show, like the one I just covered, are disturbing, others are just downright frustrating, like Claire traveling back to the future and leaving Jamie behind. This moment from the second season was a shocker for all the fans. You don't find out why she's in the present until the very end. Sure, the show did a great job of showing both timelines at the same time, but it still messed it up a few times, and fans really hated the whole thing. Let me get into what exactly went down. So, right at the beginning of Season 2, Claire's back in her own time, out of nowhere. And my God, her anxiety about the Battle of Culloden was through the roof. Apparently, she goes to the future because Jamie told her to. Does that make any sense to you guys? Because it doesn't to me, especially considering what her character is like. Claire is possibly the most stubborn woman on Earth, and even though she was pregnant with his child, we still can't accept that she would just leave him and return to the future. The fact that she did so, and then moved on with her life without knowing for certain whether he was dead or not, that's completely out of character, and not at all believable. The whole thing was too inconsistent with her character to make sense to fans, and everyone was convinced it was just lazy storytelling. At this point, you're probably wondering, how much worse can it get? If you're wondering that, then there's no way you're ready for Brianna and Roger. Is it about to get spicy with these characters? If that's a question on your mind, you've got to be new to the Outlander fandom, and haven't gotten around to developing the same hatred that everyone else has for the two of them. And honestly, all the hate is totally justified. Their romance is basically a replacement for the iconic duo that was Claire and Jamie. But as much as they try, they will never be the new Claire and Jamie. They're just hogging screen time, and nobody wants to see them together. In fact, fans think that they might be a little more bearable if they weren't on the screen all the time. Even Sam Heughan agrees. He's gone on record to talk about how problematic he thinks Roger is, which makes perfect sense considering the number of times he slut-shames Brianna, all because she wanted to have some intimate time with the person she loved. Sure, he's been through hell, but he's just such a terrible character that you can't help hating him despite some of his good qualities. What makes it worse is that he just abandons her after she is assaulted. There's no coming back from that. And don't even get me started on Brianna. The woman keeps going back to him, justifying her actions with the "it's because we're in love" trope. Oh, give me a break already. But you know what most fans find even more annoying than this couple? When the show strays too far from the books, which is something they made a big mess out of in Season 2. When they were dealing with Jamie, finding out that he's Brianna's father. The series is an adaptation, so you can't expect it to follow the books exactly. But that doesn't mean that they have to make such big changes. Fans were not having it when the show finally had the two characters meet for the first time. Because in the books, Jamie's over the moon about meeting Brianna. That's his daughter after all. In fact, there's a whole chapter that's dedicated to the meeting and the interaction that follows, which readers loved. The show, on the other hand, yeah, they completely botched it. He found out he was Brianna's father, and his face remained emotionless when he saw her face. He just stared blankly into space, grinning subtly every now and then. But apart from that, nothing. No wonder fans were ticked off. And it wasn't just the ones who read the books. Even the ones who haven't touched the novels could tell that something was off, and that the character's reaction was ridiculous. Sam, the actor who plays Jamie, defended the reaction, saying that he wanted it to be more of an internally emotional kind of scene because he felt that it would be more touching. Well, Sam, that was a bad call on your part because it didn't work at all. That reminds me of another time the creators of the show let fans down in a similar way with the marriage of Jamie and Leary. Jamie is the best thing about Outlander. Every fan of the show is obsessed with this character, and he's the reason why we've all stuck around for so long. So you'd have to mess up pretty badly to make fans turn their back on a character they love so much. But Outlander's creators managed to do it. In contrast to our beloved Jamie Fraser, Leary Mackenzie is one of, if not the, most hated character in the Outlander series. She's selfish, immature, and straight up evil. She uses a schoolgirl crush on a guy who doesn't even know she exists as an excuse to wreak havoc on our favorite couple. She puts an ill wish under Claire and Jamie's bed, tries to seduce Jamie into cheating on his wife with her. And when all else fails, she frames Claire as a witch, hoping she will burn at the stake and be gone forever. All of this so she can have a man who doesn't even want her. Although, maybe he did want her? Because somehow, after Claire returns to the past, she is traumatized by the revelation that her soulmate has remarried her worst enemy and almost murderer. I don't know who was more disgusted, Claire or the fans. The fact that Jamie could find some way to forgive Leary, and then even feel enough pity for her to become her husband, is mind-blowing. This is not the Jamie Fraser fans know and love, and we refuse to believe that he would do such a thing. We all love a great story with some drama, but don't ruin our favorite character in the meantime. But all is well that ends well, since Leary ended up shooting Jamie and he got to run away with Claire. Good riddance. But if you thought seeing that union was traumatizing, then good luck handling this next one. I'm talking about that scene in the dungeon. There's no way I can talk about controversial scenes from Outlander that infuriated fans without talking about the final episode of Season 1. An episode that showcased just how messed up Blackjack Randall really is. There's not a lot that was left to our imaginations as we endured the tortuous ritual alongside Jamie. Fans had seen Jamie framed for murder, flogged repeatedly, and almost murdered. Also, Jack could break his mind, spirit, and body. The worst part is that he would nurse him back to health, so he could do the whole thing all over again. And it only gets worse from there. When he realizes that his physical violence approach isn't working, he decides to go even further. He sexually assaults him in an attempt to humiliate him and break him to the point of no return. This was just unneeded. Fans had enough and were horrified by how far the show was willing to go, by focusing so specifically on the assault parts of the novels. Poorly handled stuff, if you ask me. The graphic details and long scenes showed everything in the most harrowing way possible. And many fans actually stopped watching the show after such a traumatizing episode. To be fair, I don't blame them. So there you have it. From Jamie's traumatizing assault scene in the dungeons to Brianna being publicly violated. Those were some Outlander scenes that frustrated fans.